Let's get that rolling. Okay. Oh, I have to change my hat from what I've been doing all day today and then flip the switch so that it makes sense when I'm in here now. All right. If you're ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
The Discover Montcalm podcast is brought to you by WGLM 1063 FM, Be More Media, West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions, and DW Video. Welcome to the Discover Montcalm podcast, where we are going to look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Weed.
Hello, my name's Dwayne. I'm the host and producer of the Discover Montcalm podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in. We're well over 100 episodes right now, and we're just now getting into having some fun. There's so many stories. If you have a story that you'd like to share, get with me at 231-250-9624 or go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com, click on the email there, and send me a note and say, hey, I'd like to share whatever you do, whether you're a business, a resident, you've lived here, I want to tell your story. Just like the story I'm about ready to tell right now, I've got Dwight from Venue on Ensley with me. And for those of you that don't know what Venue on Ensley is, can you give us a little update?
Sure. Venue on Ensley. It's a venue to provide space for anyone that is planning on having a wedding, a reception, a large party, a small party. Maybe it's a family reunion. Maybe it's a celebration of life. Okay. But it's something to provide space for those who need it.
And that's located in Howard City. For those of you that have been through Howard City, you'll probably recall that the venue is what used to be the VFW Hall.
That's correct.
So if you're looking for a landmark and you're going, where is it? It's right on Federal there. Used to be the VFW Hall. I first met you back when you were working on it. It seemed like, what year did you purchase the building?
I guess it was in 2021. December of 21 is when I purchased the building.
Okay. And then you opened the doors in?
July last year.
Okay, so that'd be 2023.
Yeah.
I met you because you did something that I wasn't expecting. Around Memorial Weekend, you put the flags back up.
Yep.
It wasn't all the flags, but you put the flags back up, and at that time, I go back, I remember when the young man, Kurt Wyman here in town, was the scoutmaster, and one of his scouts dug all the holes with all the plastic so that they could plant all those flags. And at one time it went around the front and then around the south end all the way back south. It looked really cool, and I noticed the day that I stopped in and met you, you had done the flags across the front. So I just stopped in to tell you thank you, because I thought that was really cool, and that meant something to me. And while we were there, I remember people driving by just honking.
Yep.
So you got a lot of appreciation with that. While I'm on that story, what made you decide to, how did you first learn about the flags, and how did you decide that you were going to do that?
Yeah. I guess it started, my wife and I moved from the Grand Rapids area up here. We live in Pearson, and we moved up here about 7 years ago, a little over. And I remember seeing the flags for the first time, on one of the holidays that they would fly them at the VFW. So I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I was, I'm patriotic in my own way, I guess, and
Okay.
A lot of family that had been in the military, and I just think it's a good way of honoring that. And so after, I had the opportunity and purchased the building, we ended up with some flags that the VFW folks, they didn't know what to do with them because members had passed, or people that they were put in place for, they didn't know how to get in touch with them. And so I just offered up that if they wanted to leave the flags, that I would fly them. And so I ended up with a certain amount of flags, and so we continued the.
And I understand you're working with the village because they're storing them, or they came in to help you?
Yeah, Mike Falcon, the village manager, through different conversations as I was renovating the building, there was a lot of VFW paraphernalia that was left over, that had been left, the contents had been left. So whatever the VFW out of Lansing did not take, I actually, in communication with Mike, because of the library, they're putting together a historical, like a museum type
Mm-hmm.
of thing there, and we talked about that, and I donated all of that stuff to them for that. And then the flags came later. I didn't know I was going to end up with the flags, and so I talked to Mike about it. And when he came through one of the tours, he just asked me, he said, would you want us to store those for you, because I don't have a lot of storage.
Right.
And so ended up, they housed them, and then he offered them helping put them out whenever I was ready to put them out. So that's what we do. I call and we make a plan. And
well, I want to thank you for that personally, because that meant a lot to me because of my tie with helping the Boy Scouts. But I think it's a nice patriotic thing to do, and it's nice that you picked it up and at least are flying it. And it's nice that the village stepped up. I mean, all the way around it just worked out well. So let's go back and learn a little bit about you. Where are you originally from? And you said that 7 years ago, which would be, what, 17?
yes,
2017, you moved into the area. Give us a little backstory on who is Dwight.
Dwight grew up in Kentucky, the western part of the state, and later on I moved over to the central part of the state in the Lexington area. I used to work for Toyota Motor Manufacturing, and I started my career there, spent 35 years in the automotive manufacturing environment, and then near the end of my career, I did some consulting, and then I was just ready to keep kind of changing the pace, and so I moved to Michigan actually 25 years ago. Will be this November.
Okay.
And so I've been up here, kind of got comfortable, loved the state, met my wife, and we got married 18 years ago, and we have 6 kids between us.
Okay, wow.
So
Dwight, venue on Ensley. I'm going to go into a little bit more on that right after we hear these words from our sponsors. All right. Ba, 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 ba. I'm glad we're not live. I'd be sitting here pushing a bunch of buttons.
Okay, too long answers?
No, you're for this is fine.
Okay.
The whole thing is just a conversation.
Right.
I might have spent too long on that one, but now we're going to get back into. But I think that's kind of cool. So we're going to look there, and I'll get us back out of the break. So welcome back to the Discover Montcalm podcast. I have Dwight from Venue on Ensley here in Howard City. You started, I guess I kind of want to know, how did you end up with the VFW Hall? Because we all think of it as the VFW Hall. It's now Venue on Ensley. But when in your career did you decide that you wanted to have a venue for people to have weddings and special events and that kind of stuff? When did you wake up and go, I think I want to renovate a building?
Yeah, well, I think the date that I purchased the building, I believe, was December, maybe it was October 13th. And but prior to that, I actually put the thing under contract October the year before, and it took 10 months for the purchase, to complete the purchase on it. And my wife and I were driving by, and it was idled at the time due to COVID.
Right.
And we drove by, and my wife said, there's there's your building, you know. And I said,
So I take it this has been something that's been in the back of your mind for a while. If she said, there's your building, either that or she wanted you out of the house. I'm not going to go there.
yeah, yeah. Well, so I had looked around town for a building for another type of business that I was considering. And then I had made the statement, the comment about wonder what they're doing with that building since it was idled due to COVID. And so, that being said, when we passed by, there was a for sale sign there, and it happened to be the first day that it was on the market, and I didn't know that. And so, so it was really kind of spontaneous. I went home, looked online, researched the building a little bit, set up an appointment the next day to go see it, and I put it under contract that day. But I didn't really have in mind exactly what I wanted to do with it. We done some brainstorming that night. What could we do with this building?
Okay.
And so through the process, and I had some conversations with Mike Falcon at the village to try to understand, would certain things be okay? What would the village like to see? But out of that, over the next few months, because when I first bought it, for 5 months, I didn't do anything with it because I was still working, and I was working out of state. So I ended up, made a decision and started working towards that goal. A little back history: prior to my automotive manufacturing, I did some building in my day. In your days. And so,
because you did all the remodeling on that.
Yeah, I did. I would say 90% or more of the work. So for the next 18 months, then I spent going in there, and I think I may have taken off a couple weeks in that time, but I would go up and slowly, a little at a time, just
build the venue,
make some headway. So, yeah.
So the venue is, venue on Ensley, on Federal, just south of Howard City. All types of events. People can rent it for all occasions. And you're also doing some things with it that you're bringing your own events in, correct?
That's correct. We do, right now, the plan is to have approximately 4 art shows. Some of it we focus on, artisan, handmade things. Others we advertise for, maybe even a little bit of retail, advertising your business at the shows and things like that. So, but we kind of state that in the events when we post them. We usually post that through Facebook.
So they can find you on Facebook at Venue on Ensley.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you're listening or watching any event that's coming up, you list, and if you're looking for contact information to rent it themselves, they can just go there and
they can go there. There's a number. There's a website, venueonensley.com.
Okay.
And then our sign in front of the building has my contact number.
Okay. Why don't you share your phone number with us?
Yeah, the number is 616-915-1884.
And one more time, so those, if they're catching it on the audio podcast, they can't read it on the screen.
Right. 616-915-1884.
So 18 months to 2 years it took you to build it.
Correct.
You opened the doors officially what month and year?
July of last year. I think it was the 19th.
Okay, so July of 2023. It's nice to see the place being used. And you've got multiple rooms that are available. Somebody could probably rent the whole thing, or you've got the bigger. Can you kind of give us a walkthrough? You walk in the front door, what do you see?
Yeah, when you walk in the front door, to your left, which would be the north end of the building, it's a 4,000 square foot room. It's named Ensley Hall North.
Okay.
And then if you proceeded straight through the door down the ramp, and the ramp turns to the right, that's Ensley Hall South. technically it's one room, but we're able to split it off and rent it separately as two.
Okay.
And so, and so those rooms can be rented. You know, we break them up like that because if people don't want to afford the entire space, then they don't have to.
Or they got a smaller group. You don't have
Correct.
to, I remember back before you did the renovations, that's where the Boy Scouts met.
Yep.
So we were down in that area, and it does look completely different than what it did back in the day.
Yeah, all of that Boy Scout stuff was still, or a lot of it, I don't know if it was all of it, but was still on the walls when I bought the building.
Okay.
And I still have a few pieces of it.
Okay.
I got an old book and some other things, but pretty neat history there.
I may have to come over and take a look at it, because for a few years I was doing some stuff there. So
Yeah.
always nice to kind of go down memory lane. So venue on Ensley, open to all types of events. You're not geared to just any one thing. So
No.
somebody wants it, they just contact you.
Yeah, so if even if you have a company and if you want to have your own event there, there's people that's contacted about maybe having an expo or
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, or maybe it's a company that wants to have their own things going on there.
Sure.
You could even rent the space and put on your own show if you wanted to.
Sure.
So we're very open to what people want.
It's a venue. You can rent it, get with you, and
Yeah.
book the time.
And I like to say when I was going to name the place, I was kicking it around. We kicked it around for probably 4 or 5 months,
Mhm.
me and my wife, and would ask other people. And but anyway, how Venue on Ensley came about was one day I looked up the definition of venue, and the definition of venue, when you look it up, is the place where something happens.
Oh, okay.
Or a place where something happens. And so anyway, so that's on the sign. So when you see that, the place where something happens, that's the definition of a venue. And so that's...
So if you've got something that's happening, contact you and you're looking for space,
Yep.
you're available, and they can do that. And there's plenty of parking too.
Yep.
It's a pretty good sized parking lot that's
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
about 32,000 square feet of parking.
Okay.
So,
So your facility, you can house. Do you have a limit on the rooms as far as the amount of people that it'll hold?
yeah, the standing capacity of the building is 425 people.
Okay.
It's 275 people for the north end and 150 for the south end.
Okay. So that's a fair amount of people. I
Yep.
mean, you can, and if you had your crystal ball, I mean, you've been in there for a year, a little over a year now. What are you hoping in the next 2 to 5 years? You hoping to do other things, or just keep it open for people to rent?
No, there's been some consideration of other things. We're looking at for this winter to be able to have some indoor stuff, so maybe indoor games, entertainment.
Okay.
That we would do ourselves, but and then I've got some outside space. We got about 2.5 acres with the two properties that are aligned with the venue.
Okay.
And so, we're considering doing some other stuff, some more outdoor type stuff. And then that's another thing I haven't said anything about, but even if you want to have an event outside, we have the outside space too, some grassy area that
Okay.
makes for good outdoor parties or things like that. Or
If they've got an idea, call you.
Yep,
And the number again?
616-915-1884.
Venue on Ensley on Facebook, as well as venueonensley.com.
Yep.
And, reach out. They got an idea. Like everything else, book early. If you've got a date that you're aiming for, call you soon to make sure that they can get it down. Is there anything we talked a lot about stuff, but is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to cover? I know you just talked about where the name came from. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners and viewers to know about the venue?
I don't know that there's a whole lot more to say. One thing that we tried to do when I was opening the building is, when we use people to support our business, we try to use local people.
Okay.
Even when I was having the work done and I had to hire it done, I tried to use people right in the Howard City area, if not as close as I could get.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we want the people's support, and at the same time, we want to support the people that's
It's a two-way street,
in the
definitely.
county. So it's important to us to have that mutual understanding, and then we just want to be there for whoever needs us.
You've got a place. It's a place where things happen. People call you, rent it. So venue on Ensley, south end of Howard City. Southern, like it's so big. VenueOnEnsley.com, as well as Venue on Ensley at Facebook. You can check out all the events that they have, because you are running some of your own events.
Yes.
And or if you've got an event out there that you'd like to run, give Dwight a call. Contact you, because
we actually have a fall market on October 5th.
Okay.
And then we're going to be having a Christmas one as well. The dates hasn't been announced yet, but one for Christmas, so that people can do Christmas shopping and hopefully find some really unique things there as well. So.
And as you grow, go to the Facebook page, like it, follow it, see what's happening local, because you're trying to, have a place where local businesses can share their wares.
Yep. And we're pretty happy too, because we've been open for a year, and right now we're sitting at just over 1,000 followers.
Okay.
So I was pretty happy about that. That
it's always a start.
I didn't know what to expect, but
yeah. And the more, the more you let people know, the more the people use you. The word of mouth is a great thing.
It is.
And now that they drive by, the building is being used. So I think that's really cool. You've lived in the Pearson area for, I guess, just a few years. What is it about the Montcalm area that you like? Because you lived in Grand Rapids, you've lived in other places.
Yeah.
What is it about Montcalm County that you like?
Well, I'm kind of a small town guy. I was born and raised on a farm, and so then as I grew up, once I left home, I'm the only one of my family to ever leave home,
Mm-hmm.
and moved to the Lexington, Kentucky area with Toyota, and then I would live in I've lived in different places, subdivisions, places where I had little space, and
Mm-hmm.
places where I had a lot. And here it's kind of a balance of the two. We live in a subdivision, but it's a subdivision with nice lot, and I like the rural community. I like being out in as opposed to the city or
Right.
the town. But that's a personal choice. So
What's nice is if you want to go to the city, it's just a short drive down the road.
absolutely.
So, Dwight from Venue on Ensley, thank you for stopping in today. You can follow Discover Montcalm Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, as well as YouTube. You can go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com, check out all of our past episodes. You can grab the RSS feed, put it in your favorite podcast browser or app, and you can catch all the episodes on Montcalm County. Thank you again for stopping by. I know it was a long drive from the venue to here, or even from your house to here.
Yeah.
Remember to buy and shop locally.
The Discover Montcalm podcast is produced by content creator Dwayne Weed, celebrating 40 years at DW Video and Multimedia LLC at dwvideo.com, or call 231-250-9624. Connect and follow the Discover Montcalm podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Check out all our episodes at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. We look forward to featuring your business, community, nonprofit, events, and more. Contact Dwayne at 231-250-9624, 231-250-9624. Thank you for tuning in and following the Discover Montcalm podcast.